Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today we continue the conversation on the future of Nigeria, and I have with me today an impressive guest, a leading legal luminary, human rights lawyer, somebody that needs very little or no introduction. I want to welcome Chief Femi Falana, SAN, to Inside Sources. You're welcome to Inside Sources, sir.
I thank you very much, except to correct the error you have just made in introducing me to your guest. I'm not a chief.
Okay.
So I don't want to be accused of having obtained a chieftaincy title by false pretenses, So I'm not a chief. I'm simply Mr.
I get your point. Mr. Femi Falana.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
My pleasure.
Welcome. Thank you so much. So I normally start the conversation on the future of Nigeria by asking my guests where they think the country is going. And, so in your case, your views are very well known on few of the issues. So I'd like to just take it from the point of view of the judiciary. But you could take it in any direction that you also want. What do you think is the state of the judiciary today? And how best do you think this can be sorted out for the future of the country?
About the future of the country?
Yes.
I'm very optimistic. I just left a conference in Accra, Ghana, on constitutional changes of governments in Africa. And I was challenged, was confronted with the fact that my country, Nigeria, occupies a prominent place in the continent of Africa, in the West Africa sub-region. And so much is expected from Nigeria in terms of providing leadership for the entire black race, because this is the largest concentration of black people on earth.
Anywhere in the world, true.
And so, we're challenged. Why are you failing to lead Africa? And I made it clear to all the guests. We have enormous human and natural resources that can take care of almost the entire African continent if we can get our acts together. But my optimism is drawn from the fact that the masses of our people are very tolerant and they mean well for the country. And their demands are not much. They want good education for their children, good healthcare system, access to some basic necessities of life.
Right.
And for me, once we can mobilize our people to demand accountability on the part of the government, for me, the sky will be the limit. So the task before genuine progressive forces is to go out there to the masses and mobilize them to take their political destiny in their own hands. They must shun, our people must shun politicians who come around to distribute money or buy votes. People must now begin to demand their rights under the law. And so for me, that is doable. From what you read now in the social media, people are beginning to ask questions. And the government is being forced to respond to those questions. President Bola Tinubu has banned, at least for 3 months,
Foreign travel.
frequent, frivolous trips abroad by MDAs. And that must go the whole hog. The state government must also emulate that policy so that we can save money to address the problems of underdevelopment confronting these people. This country.
Right.
And that will also force us to fix our hospitals so that the rich and top public officers will not go abroad for medical, treatment and thereby promote medical tourism. Now that the UK and some countries now that our people are finding it difficult to send money abroad to pay, expensive
medical bills,
school fees.
Yeah.
We also will get the government to now begin to pay attention to our schools so that we can fix our own schools. So I'm confident from the point of view of human rights and public interest litigation that we have enough laws today to take care of the welfare of our people. What we are trying to do now from the human rights community is to make these laws available to our people so that they begin to demand their right. Take, for instance, Section 18 of the Constitution provides that there shall be free education from primary to university.
Yes.
But what the ruling class did was to entrench a proviso to the extent that this will only be possible if and when feasible, when made possible by the government. And the government, of course, will not do that. But what we've done over the year is to insist, at least at the primary school level, we must make it compulsory. So there are laws now at the federal and state levels that have provided free and compulsory education from primary to junior secondary school. That for 9 years. So we are now trying to educate our people, enlighten our people to appreciate their rights, the rights of their children under the Child's Rights Act, the Child's Rights laws in the state. All the states now have embraced and enacted the Child's Rights Act into law in their state. So we must now get this shame. We must end this shame of having 20.2 million children
out of school.
Along this line, we have just filed a case in Lagos. We've dragged the federal government and all the state government to the Federal High Court. Can you justify why you are not accessing about 68 billion naira as of November last year? I have just confirmed now that the money in that account is 100 billion, not accessed by the state government. Now that the state governments are collecting more money from the federation account, we must now insist that you must access this money.
And the reason they don't access it is because of the counterpart funding.
Yeah, that's counterpart funding. Now there is enough
for them.
Yeah, to now pay the counterpart fund and be able to take the money to go to the states and banish illiteracy.
Interesting. Now, I want to switch gears to an issue that I've heard you speak a lot about, and it's about the role in the constitution of the Nigerian Police Council, vis-a-vis what seems to be a groundswell consensus on the issue of state police. So the last time the president met with the governors said that, oh, look, let's go and get this state police done. But I've heard your views, expressed, about the fact that governors are actually members of the Nigerian Police Council and they can get things done there. My question to you, therefore, trying to put all this together is that, do you think that the Police Council by itself is enough to guarantee the community policing, which is one of the reasons why people want state police, or will you go all the way how to actually support the advocacy for state police?
I think your question will have to be addressed from my experience under the colonial regime. We had regional police. Apart from the colonial police, we later had regional police when you had partial indigenous government in the 50s.
Right.
So between 51 and 59, we had regional police. Between 1960 and 66, when the military took over power, albeit illegally, we had regional police. But why the country why did Nigerians unanimously campaign for the abolition of regional police or state police in the great debate of 1976 to 1979? I've gone to read the great debate. It's compiled into a big book. And the major problems, right,
yes,
at that time,
right,
was that the ruling party
in the regions
used the state police effectively to intimidate
opponents
and silence opponents. Sometimes, I was reading an incident in the Southwest where the ruling party or their thugs, the thugs of the ruling party,
that was the Western region,
yes, would kill and then dump the dead body in your compound in the night as a member of the opposition. The following morning, you are arrested and charged with murder and taken away. Of course, the case will be eventually dismissed for want of, evidence or want of diligent prosecution. So, in the north, the NEPU, that is the Northern Element People's
Union.
Party.
Progressive Union. Yeah.
The members were constantly and consistently victimized by the ruling MPC, Northern People's Congress. And so people felt, no, we can't go back to that era. So let us have one police force for all of us. Hence, in 1979 and 1999, one federal police, not federal government police, has been entrenched in the Constitution. In Section 215, it is stated that there shall be only the Nigerian police force. How is that police? And I think the late Professor Nwabweze made it clear in one of his books that one central police force is not necessarily antithetical to federalism. It depends on the management of the force. Unfortunately, our governors have allowed the Nigerian police force to become the federal government police force. Hence the demand for state police. Under the Constitution, Section 216 of the Constitution,
right,
the President of the Republic cannot appoint or remove an Inspector General of Police without consulting the Nigerian Police Council. The schedule to that section, Schedule 7 of the Constitution, it is stated there, well stated, that the Nigerian Police Council shall administer, organize, and supervise the Nigerian police force. Who are the members of the Nigerian Police Council? The President as the chairman, the Inspector General of Police, the chairman of the Nigerian Police Service Commission, and the 36 state governors. So in that 39-member body, 36 members are chief executives of the state. It is in that council where the members should discuss how many police personnel should be in every state, how the police command in every state should be funded, and how the police council, force in every state should be managed and supervised and administered. But what has happened? That body had limits. I have a case in court to compare regular meetings of that body because of insecurity in our country. It's not in a democratic society. It is not business of the military to police the society. But you have regular meetings of the Nigerian Security and Defense Council. Whereas we don't have meetings, regular meetings of the Nigerian Police Council. So we must go back to the provisions of the Constitution. It's not unusual in a federation to have the federal government police and state police. But again, we have to go back to the drawing table and fine-tune our policies before you can have state police. You must assure people there are governors in Nigeria, right? That will simply turn the state police into an instrument of oppression. Because even right now, the federal police is turned into instrument of oppression. So we must agree that in a federation, every tier of government, every federative unit should be able to enforce its own laws with its own security apparatus. But then you must guarantee that there will be no intimidation or oppression of political opponents, either by the federal government police or the state, or even local government police. Because right now we deceive ourselves. We already have decentralization of the Nigerian police force right now.
Well, most people wouldn't agree with that.
Every community, because of insecurity, every estate in Lagos or Abuja, they all have their own private security arrangements. And majority of them are armed. And the state will pretend not to know once you don't go out there to kill unarmed people. So these are the areas we have to look at. Even the federal police. Why do you transfer a commissioner of police in a state on the eve of election? Because of the belief that the commissioner of police will kowtow to the governor. And so, in order to create a level playing ground, you will ask the commissioner of police to go elsewhere. And you bring another commissioner of police or a set of commissioners of police to manage the election. So why do we keep on deceiving ourselves? And that is why we must seriously give that idea some serious thought. The meeting that the president had with the governors, it was raised as an idea whose time has come. But it hasn't been adopted.
Not yet.
I believe a lot of thinking will have to go into it so that we don't create more problems. Because right now, you have occasional clashes between the EFCC and the State Security Service, or between the Nigerian Army and the Nigerian Police Force. We cannot afford that. So that kind of a dangerous scenario if you have a state police that will have to confront the federal police. So we must clearly define the jurisdiction of each police service. I wouldn't want to use, it's not comfortable. I'm not comfortable to use the word force.
I see that.
That was the position of the colonial,
government
authorities. And that's because they wanted the force to cow our people to submission. For when they were collecting taxes, they were killing our people. Workers were being killed for protesting, as you had in Iva Valley, Enugu in 1949, or the Aba women in 1929, or the Egba women in 1947. So that was in police force. Now it must be a people's police service. And it must serve the people and not the government in power.
Very interesting. Let's move it on as we begin to round up because of our time. I wanted to also ask you about the situation in Okoloba, where we have that very unfortunate attack on the Nigerian military. I noticed that your comment had said that it shouldn't be the military that should have done the arrest, after the unfortunate incident. So I wanted you to, expatiate. What's your perspective on what had happened, in terms of civil-military relations?
What the tragic killing, the brutal killing of the 4 officers and 12 soldiers
Right.
occurred on the 14th of March. Barely 24 hours later, because I sensed danger when I discovered that gory pictures of the slain soldiers were circulating in the social media. I issued a statement while commiserating with the family, the bereaved families,
Right.
and the military,
Right.
and of course the government.
Yeah.
I appeal to the military authorities to avoid a reprisal attack. As the country witnessed in Udi, in Bayelsa State, Zaki Biam in Benue State, and Baramotu in Delta State.
It's in Delta.
Unfortunately, things were not handled properly. And so, at least Okwama village has been reduced to rubble, ashes. A village in Bayelsa where a suspected murder suspect was traced to has also been burned. Now, when you do that, you breach the country's law. Our criminal law does not recognize vicarious liability. You must go for the person who has committed an offense. Under the Administration of Criminal Justice law now, you can no longer arrest Mr. A for the offense of the son or the daughter. That's the law. Secondly, under the current legal system or the criminal justice system,
Right.
it is not the duty of the military to arrest civilians, detain civilians, investigate civilians. In the case of Miss Anita Paul and the Chief of Army Staff, the Federal High Court in Abuja here, I think it was presided over by the Honorable Justice Taiwo, is retired now, held that under the Constitution, it is the duty of the police to arrest, investigate, and charge civilian suspect, criminal suspect, before the court. In the case of Femi Falana and the Chief of Army Staff, it was also held by the Federal Court sitting in Lagos that you cannot subject civilians to searches on the road, because in 2019 they said they wanted to subject everybody to some search. They call it positive identification parade. The court annulled it. In 2014, this will interest you. In the case of Bala Tinubu and the Chief of Army Staff.
Of the current president.
Yes. As the national leader of the APC as he then was.
Yes.
The Federal High Court, presided over by the Honorable Justice John Soho, the current Chief Judge of the Federal Court, held that you cannot lay siege on the house of the applicant, because it's not the duty of the military. There was going to be an election. I think February 2015, there was going to be an election.
Yes.
So he ran to court. The applicant ran to court to say, I'm under siege. My house in Ikoyi has been subjected to unnecessary, siege. Therefore, come to, and the court ruled. In the case of APC and PDP, the Court of Appeal ruled that soldiers, it's illegal for soldiers to monitor elections. In the case of Bajabi Amila and President Jonathan, right? It was then the current chief of staff was then
A member of the House of Reps.
member of the House of Reps. He went to court that soldiers cannot manage the election. The court so ruled that it is not the duty of soldier or the army to manage election in a democratic society. That is the duty of the police. So my position is that those who perpetrated the heinous crime in Delta State are not subject to service law.
Military service law?
No. They are civilians. And under the law, only the police can arrest them. The soldiers may help them. The Nigerian army may help them in order to... And when they are arrested, you can even arrest a suspect. But the moment you arrest a suspect, you must turn him over to the police so that the police can carry out proper investigation. In the case of Mr. Godwin Emefiele, the immediate past governor of the Central Bank,
yes,
he was arrested by the State Security Service. And I came out to warn, the way you are going, you will bungle the investigation because it's not your area. Security allegations or security, the man was not accused of breaching the security of the country, but of committing economic crime. And they didn't listen to me until Mr. Emefiele went to court and they got an order for his release and that the government should pay him 100 million naira damages. The final point is that in the case of OD, the Federal Court awarded 37.5 billion naira for the destruction of houses and killing of people. In the case of Zakibiam, the Federal Court sitting in Jos awarded 41 billion naira. In the case of Baramatu, the Federal Court awarded 100 billion naira. We cannot continue to pay such colossal sums of money for the criminality of a few people that should have been arrested and charged before a properly constituted court.
Thank you so much, Mr. Falana. I wish we had more time. I'm sure that we have opportunity to continue the conversation. Thank you for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.